In nomine Dinastri Satanae Luciferi Excelsi. In domus Dei oramet ausium momentum mori. In nomine Spiritus Domini Mundi Est Satanae. Greetings, everyone. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here, Angelus, son of Abaddon. And tonight, I'd like to discuss with you the legal system versus the religions. Well, let's look at this for a few minutes. We all know that the JCI gets away with murder. Okay, basically they can molest children and then they just, after repentance, they literally get set up in a new location, specifically that of the Catholics. They get set up with a whole new row of victims where they are not known and their crimes are not known. We know that it's not just the Catholics either. We know that there are others, such as Baptists and Apostolics, Jehovah Witnesses, and just mainstream JCI in general, who has violated numerous laws. They get tax breaks, and they break the law whenever they want and get away with it. Okay, this really is nothing new. It's been going on for the better part of 1,000 years. However, here in the United States, legal systems have been defined to not only protect one's personal religious foundation. I mean, let's just look at the First Amendment. What does it take to set up a protected religion? Number one, you must have a foundation, meaning an order, a church, a temple, okay? Something like that. Even a coven is considered to be an establishment, okay, that you belong to. Second of all, you must have doctrine, okay? You look at all the numerous books out there, from the JCI to Wiccan and pagan practices to that of satanic and voodoo and Santeria, Brujeria, and even Palo Mayumbi and Quimbanda books, and all kinds of different things, including vampirism. Okay, Bibles of numerous different sorts. This is considered to be one of the three main factors of what makes up a protected religion. Foundation and doctrine are the first two. Now, what is the third? The third is quite simple. You. You as the body. You as the individual who belongs to that type of current, that type of religious practice, and are a recognized member of that facility. That is the third aspect, the following. You see, the following is what makes up and completes the unholy or holy trinity. Okay? Notice I just named off three things, and that's basically the main three things that the Department of Justice and the American Civil Liberty Union, can't speak today, the American Civil Liberties Union, down to the state, district, and borough laws recognize. Now, not just the corporations, which befall the Ramsey Law. You see, the Ramsey Law protects the companies from any form of religious foundation, or accusation because of the fact that they get to mandate what you wear, what is physically acceptable. Okay? Rings, jewelry. Okay? A lot of times when you get into things like fast food joints, they really don't give two shits about your religious affiliations. They'll let you wear your amulets, your Orcrux, your talismans, whatever, you know, as long as it doesn't hinder your duty, your job. Okay? Now, if you're working, and you'd actually have to wear some form of uniform, a certain thing like khakis, or let's say, for an example, non-slick shoes, white socks, blue jeans, a white polo shirt. Okay, this is just one aspect of what is considered to be a uniform. Others may be black and black, okay, something with the company's sigillium on it, like say McDonald's or Burger King, just to name off a couple of the mainstream worldwide companies. Now, the Ramsey Law protects these companies from any form of religion, okay? And then when you get down to the individual boroughs, well, every borough has their own perspective of what befalls a protected religion, okay? You may want to check with your human references department, okay, human resource department of your job, so that you can get an overall classification of what their definition of religious propaganda would be a violation to that company. Okay, trust me, it will help you in the long run. Why? Because I had an incident with my former employer where I went above his head to above the store manager's head, and I went above the district manager's head, and I went all the way into the regional. Okay, and I talked to a lady that and told her exactly what was going on, and I sent her a few photos of my rings. Okay, now apparently from what I understand, some customers had some issues with my rings. They took offense to it, basically, because I am not a Christian. Okay. You're going to find that people do this shit. So you have to go and find, what does your company recommend for the uniform? What can you wear and what you cannot wear? Okay. And then after that, if they don't say anything, oh, well, that doesn't violate anything of our commandments, our regulations. Well, guess what? Then the Ramsey Law is no more. Okay, it does not reply at that time. It does not institute anything needing to be warranted. Now you can go underneath the First Religion, the First Amendment. You can go underneath the Freedom of Religious Acts. Okay, namely the Religious Land Use and Personalized Religious Acts. Okay, in this form, no individual, sect, assembly, or establishment has the right to limit or deny your freedom of religion. Okay. Now, I got into the politics aspect in the legal system a few years ago, just a few short years ago, back when I worked for Tractor Supply. But I never really contemplated learning the legal laws and how it can not only benefit the public, but also benefit you as the practitioner. Okay. Especially if you've done your homework. Now, let's just take a look at something real fast. And yes, Holly, I saw your post there, your comment, and so hello. Um, let's look at it this way. Let's say, for an example, you frequently go out at night, you go to parks, and you light a few candles. You go to, say, a wooded area, like, say, trails, city trails or whatever, and you set up shop and you bring everything that you bring with you, you tend to take with you when you leave. Okay, this is not violating any code of conduct. Okay. Most you could probably get slapped with is trespassing because a lot of these places, like cemeteries and state parks and regular parks, have timetables of when you can be in them. But when nobody's there and you tend to show up, you want to really be discreet with your activities. You want to be able to go and leave freely without being detected. Okay. Now, recently I've been delving into the legal laws. Now, I was reading a book that was based off necromancy, for an example, and I was also comparing to that of Satanism. You know, one of the things that was really influential when I was down in Texas was the fact that when they found out I was a Satanist and a practitioner of Satanism, they took out a no trespassing clause. Just a no trespassing clause, okay? Preventing you from stepping foot onto cemeteries or that were owned by the church or, any establishment that was owned by a particular church, okay? Now, that was done out of fear. There was no physical proof. All you do is you make yourself aware to the public. Okay, you want to make yourself known to the public. And as Anton Zandalevay so colorfully pointed out, make yourself known, and your enemies will do the rest. Okay, now and basically that's all I did. And I mean, I had like three different counties up in an uproar in the ass end of the Bible Belt. By the time it was said and done, they had been fined twice heavily. Their actions put on news outlets, and most importantly, their bishop was removed from his parish and was sent to a different one, way down in what would be classified as purgatory, southern Texas, about 5 to 10 miles from the border of Mexico. Well, you want to be in the desert, there you go. No vegetation. you know, so my point is this: you really do want to know your personal laws, okay? That will protect your own individual religion. Now, one of the things that was pointed out to me is that there are certain activities that you really want to be aware of, okay? And like I said, if you go to like a cemetery, a state park, or trails, wherever, you really want to make sure that you're not violating any of these, okay? Now, you don't want to disturb, vegetation that's protected. You don't want to, set off a forest fire because you'll be charged with arson, you know, or endangering a species on the verge of extinction, plants, animals, whatever, just things like that. I mean, even if you go to a cemetery, you don't want to damage anything. You don't want to create some form of uproar, legally speaking. Okay. So I spent the better part of today just going over the legal systems. Every state has their own mandates, their own penal codes, and describe quite heavily in detail what each one of these means. Now, let's say, for an example, we're talking about necromancy or Satanism or even witchcraft in general, shamanism. Okay, these are things that use skulls, bones, and all the likes. Even Palo Mayumbi or Quimbanda, even voodoo. Okay, so a lot of these practices utilize bones and structures. So there are ways that you can get around this by spending a few hundred, if not a couple $1,000 out of your hard-earned cash and actually purchase them legally, rather than to say going out to a graveyard, digging up a corpse and mutilating it. Now this is where I find it very interesting because of the fact of this. Number one, the United States penal codes have numerous different aspects, from bombers, and bombers to funeral home directors to employees, that maintain, maintenance personnel, city officials, even they can go into graveyards or state parks and utilize this as a means to do what they do. Okay, because they are licensed to do so. Licensed. Basically meaning that if you have a license to be a grave digger and you work for a funeral home or a religious establishment, you can get away with murder. Okay. Now, a lot of from the most common utiliges of what has been utilized in front of a court system, a legal court system, has been, oh, I'm a physician, I'm a scientist, or I'm in a bomber. I work for the city or the church or whatever. Okay, so these things are classified as Class C and D crimes. Okay, Class C and D crimes. Now, Class C crimes can be trespassing. Illegal trespassing to destruction of property, or you know a lot of different things that are associated with that, like DUI, uh, disorderly conduct, you know, things like that. And this actually gives the judge permission to even set set a fine of, say, $2,000. Okay, $2,000, only $2,000, about 364 days in jail. And depending if you have more, you know, let's just call it a history of illegal activity, will determine what yielding of sentencing you get. Okay. Now, Class D crimes, okay, are the lesser evil because of the fact that they deal with up to $5,000 in fines, probation if the judge finds it warranting, and you'll have to pay the but it will open you up as well to civil suits from, say, for an example, the city, or that of, say, the religious foundation, whoever owns the property or the area that you were convicted of. Okay, this is known as a civil suit, legal lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, and it literally brings it into a whole nother ball game. And depending on how much information is available, will determine whether it is successful or it's denied. Because anyone who goes through a civil suit will tell you that it befalls the other person, the accuser, just like it would a persecutor, to prove their case. Okay. So I mean, I've been going headstrong just into the legal books. I mean, I've got the Britannicas that go all the way back to 1937. Okay. And I mean, I've been going through Google, I've been going through legal books, I've been going through just about everything I can get my hands on, and really delving into this aspect. Because not only knowing the political aspects and knowing about your unique region of where you live. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada, European, okay? If let's say you're in European countries like, say, England or Europe, Spain, and you make a false accusation against somebody, guess what? That's called defamation of character. Okay. Now, here in the US, you can actually take that person that did this crime and with all the evidence of that crime and go before a judge and sue them in a civil suit for defamation of character. But guess what? Over in European countries, your ass is grass. Why? Because of this. And this is something I found out quite recently, okay, about European countries. Is number one, if you commit some form of heinous crime, like, say, defamation of character, not only are you going to get fined, but you're going to have a up to about 10 grand. But you're also going to end up spending up anywhere between 4 to 10 years in prison. Okay. So really look at your area, look at where you live, what country you live in. Okay. Go through your legal laws surrounding whatever religion that you're into. Okay. 90%, if not 95%, of all practitioners follow the JCI Mirandi. Okay. They follow the white lighter, harm none. Do as thy will if it harms none. Creed. Okay, this is Wiccan and Pagan that goes back to 1974. Gerald Gardner. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, look at your government statutes surrounding religion. Okay, what makes up the religion? How can it be used to protect you in your foundation? But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, how can it protect your religious practices? Okay? Trust me when I tell you that you will find it absolutely amazing, astonishing. Okay? I have learned more about the penal codes within the last 2 years than I ever did in 20 years. Okay? 20 years of travel. Okay? Now, keep in mind, I've been in the same location for just about 10 years now. Okay? Meaning that I stopped moving. Okay? I actually set down roots where I'm at. Okay? And yes, we are looking to get into a different location, but still same state. All right? Now, when you look at your region, look at all of these things and utilize them to your benefit. Okay? Learn what to do, how to do it. How do you approach with filing counterclaims? How do you file and utilize the statutes that you'll be accused of? Because a lot of these practitioners and the legal system still hold true to the old witchcraft laws, okay, which was disbanded back in 1939, 37 to 39 area, okay? So keep that in mind. They're still holding on to JCI propaganda today. And here we are being made into an Islamic state with a little North Korean or Vietnamese, attributes mixed in. You know, remember social distancing. Remember to wash your hands after contact with somebody. Make sure to wear your mask properly. Make sure to wear coverings at all times. Yada yada yada. Fuck you. That's the way I look at it. Namely because the whole numbers thing during this whole COVID thing does not add up. Okay? With how many people work in the medical field, the ministry field, not just fast food joints, you would think that these individuals would be the first to be tested positive for this stuff. Well, guess what? Nobody's heard of anybody dying of COVID 19. Nobody has seen or come in contact with anybody infected with it. So again, it comes down to herd mentality. It comes down to herd control. which means it's ruled by the church. They rule over the government, the legal system, all the way down into what you believe. Okay? So again, know your legal rights. Know what you can do as an individual. Okay? And as time goes on, I will be, sharing some more stuff on this type of aspect. So, and how you can do it. On my Facebook page and in a lot of groups, I've actually posted quite a bit on legal codes and Mirandi that you can utilize for your religious purposes. Okay, the witchcraft laws, for an example, from the United States Constitution to that of personalized religious acts, going all the way back to the 17th century. That's 300 years worth of practice of legal statutes. All right, and their correct names. So, with that said, I hope this has been enlightening, educational. Thanks for joining me, Holly. And for those of you who will come on after this, just note that this was a random video. It wasn't anything scheduled. So, but it was something I wanted to say. All right. Have a good day. Good night, wherever you are. And hope you do delve into it. You'll benefit greatly from it.